Good morning, everyone. A survey taken during the pandemic found 62% of intensive care unit nurses are burned out. Now we're seeing a long-term impact. Dr. Tara Narula spoke to ICU nurses who left their frontline jobs or dropped out of the profession altogether.
For 7 years, Paulette Rangel worked overnights as an ICU nurse in Phoenix. When COVID came calling last year, Rangel and her co-workers stepped up.
Some nurses were working 4, 5, 6 days a week, 12-hour shifts.
Rangel says her training gave her the skills to respond to a pandemic, but did not prepare her for the emotional toll.
It takes a lot out of you. We wanted to be there for our patients, but when we're running on fumes, it's hard to do that.
Back home after her shifts, Rangel's distress was obvious.
I would go straight to my room. Talking to my husband, I was just telling him, I really don't want to get you guys sick.
After trying counseling and antidepressants, Rangel switched to a job in community health, seeing healthier patients during daytime hours.
The problems that we see in nursing now are not new. It's that high level that we had before COVID that's made it just really out of hand now.
Linda Aiken teaches and studies nursing at the University of Pennsylvania.
We have a robust supply of nurses. The problem is that we don't have enough funded, permanent, full-time positions for nurses in the settings where they're needed, namely hospitals, nursing homes, and schools.
There are no federal limits on patient-to-nurse ratios. California is the only state that has set minimum staffing standards. Aiken says the workload varies widely, with nurses in some hospitals caring for as many as 10 patients. In the early months of the pandemic, Christopher Hayes hit the road as a travel nurse.
What is it that really wore you down the most during the pandemic?
Getting used to the amount of people that were dying from COVID, and then talking to their family members after they died.
As Hayes rotated through 4 hospitals in Texas and Oklahoma, he saw a pattern.
People just still honestly do not understand how severe this is, how bad staffing for nursing is.
Hayes is now taking a break from nursing to recharge. He opened a CBD store, hoping to heal people in a different way. Dr. Tara Narula, CBS News, New York.
Nearly half of American adults have high blood pressure. That's according to the CDC. A new study shows the U.S. is part of a disturbing, larger global trend, and many people aren't being treated for high blood pressure. Mandy Gaither explains why paying attention to your blood pressure could help save your life.
It's known as the silent killer. Those with high blood pressure may not even have symptoms.
So you could be running under the radar for long periods of time without knowing it, and it's slowly doing damages on your body.
A giant global study published in The Lancet found the number of people over 30 with high blood pressure has doubled over the past 30 years. More than half of them aren't being treated for it, which can have dangerous consequences, according to Dr. Lakshmi Meeta, a cardiologist at The Ohio State University Wexner Medical Center.
Treating your blood pressure can help prevent the risks of heart attacks and strokes and heart failure and kidney disease. So you kind of have to look at it as you're trying to prevent diseases, and that's why you need it treated.
There are simple ways to lower blood pressure, including medication and lifestyle changes like a healthier diet, more fruits and veggies, lower sodium, and less processed foods, reducing alcohol, not smoking, exercising more, getting adequate sleep, and lowering stress can also help.
One of the most important things that any patient should do is to get their blood pressure checked and to keep a log of their blood pressure.
Dr. Meeta says blood pressure can also be situational. If it's high, make sure to get it rechecked to see if it comes down. If it stays elevated, talk to a doctor.
And the American Heart Association and the American College of Cardiology define hypertension as having a systolic blood pressure greater than 130 and a diastolic blood pressure above 80. All right, coming up, the great mask debate across the country. We'll take a look at one school district in New Jersey coming up. All right, we're back, everyone. This morning in the CBS series School Matters, a focus on a heated issue that has become a flashpoint in the debate about how to respond to the pandemic. We're talking about mask mandates for students. Some school board meetings have turned into confrontations between opponents and supporters. Meg Oliver went to one tense school board meeting in Wayne, New Jersey.
They do not spread it.
Even before the school board meeting in Wayne, New Jersey began, families against the school mask mandates gathered outside to loudly protest.
Why are you guys here tonight?
To get masks off of us in school.
Is it worth it to wear a mask if it means your school is going to open? No.
I'm protesting for my body, my choice, because I believe that if someone wants to wear a mask, then they can wear a mask, because like it's their body and they get to choose. But also, if someone doesn't really want to wear a mask, then people don't really have the right to force it on them.
So if you had a choice to wear a mask and go to school or stay at home, what would it be?
I would want to wear a mask and go to school, actually, but that's actually a really tough question.
That's a tough question, right? Because that's where
if we go to school, then we're being forced to wear a mask. But if we're staying at home, then we're being forced to stay at home.
The majority of the nearly 100 people at this school board meeting were there to express their frustration with New Jersey's school mask mandate and demand the district stand up to the governor.
Science is not fact. Science is meant to be challenged.
There is no pandemic amongst children.
The young lady just said that there is no pandemic among the children. The lady is either in denial or she's just lying. Because every newspaper, excuse me, I have the microphone. The lady is misinformed or she is lying.
You should be embarrassed and ashamed with the agenda that all of you are letting happening in this town.
There is a well-orchestrated, a well-coordinated, and loud movement of people here. I think it's important that you hear from parents as well who support the governor's mask mandate for K through 12 schools.
Now, I support anyone who wants to wear a mask. That is their choice to do so. But if I'm going to respect their right, they need to respect mine.
I will be telling both my boys not to wear masks. Thank you.
Do you feel you're accomplishing something with these meetings?
Well, they're not optional. Whether I feel we're accomplishing, I think it's our job. I think we were elected to serve the community, and part of that is listening.
Hi. We wanted to hear more from parents who spoke out, so we met up with Dana Aliquin at a local park. She's the mother of 2 young children, one who is autistic. She's not vaccinated, and her kids are too young to receive the shot.
You were very vocal at this board meeting. What was your goal?
Really just to speak for the kids. I personally do not want to send my child with a mask. That's, my and my husband's opinion. There are no studies done or being done about the longevity of mask wearing in children.
Is there a world where you would consider putting a mask on your child to go to school this fall?
Not this fall.
Do you believe that masks can help reduce the transmission of COVID?
If they're worn properly, they can. The kids aren't wearing them properly, and that's also my big concern.
If they do wear them properly, would you consider sending your kids to school with a mask?
This year, no, because I just think that my daughter went through it last year. It took a mental toll. I think it's hard for these kids to learn how to read, learn how to do a lot of their lessons when their teachers' mouths are covered by the mask and their peers' masks. It's a little dehumanizing.
A lot of people will argue that you're part of a community, and being part of a community, you want to protect others by masking and vaccinating. What's your response to that?
I agree with that, but the only thing to counter is these people that don't feel safe, you know, they're still going out food shopping, they're still going out to concerts, they're still going to the mall, they're still going to the beach. If they were that terrified, I feel that if they felt that threatened, I feel that they would be staying home. And I don't think that everyone collectively needs to be punished for that. But now you're gonna make the...
for giving her a megaphone. This is ridiculous.
During our interview, a local parent who supports mask mandates recognized Dana.
Do you feel...
Those opposing the school mask mandate and those who support it have competing petitions circulating online. Those who support masks currently have around 700 more signatures.
I wrote the opposing petition, by the way, that has more signatures than yours.
This was released a few days before.
Yeah.
And most people agree with us.
There's a lot going on here.
Despicable.
That's fine.
It's despicable.
Okay, you're entitled to your opinion and I'm entitled to mine.
Are you vaccinated?
No.
Why not?
Shame on you. Shame on you.
I think a lot of people are going to paint a picture of you if you're getting up at a board meeting speaking that you're anti-mask, you're anti-vaccine, you're anti all these things. Is that accurate?
No, we are not anti-anything. We are fighting for our God-given right to choose what is best for our children.
In the past month, the number of kids contracting COVID went from close to 40,000 to 180,000 by the end of last week. Experts say if masks are worn properly, along with vaccinations, ventilation, and testing, they can help reduce the transmission of COVID in the classroom. Meg Oliver, CBS News, New York.
All right, so just how accurate is that gas gauge in today's car? A new study shows what happens when you get low on fuel when we come back. All right, we're back. Today's cars are loaded with technology. Even the gas gauge has changed, and a new study looks at how reliable they are. Dina Demetrius reports.
So this is AAA's Automotive Research Center.
AAA's Doug Shoup says the latest testing has researchers running cars on a treadmill to see how accurate the gas gauge is. And these days, drivers no longer just rely on the old school gauge.
More and more newer vehicles have these miles to empty gauges.
74% of car owners say they depend on the high-tech display to decide when to fill up. AAA looked at 16 vehicles and found most were accurate. However, one car overestimated fuel economy by 6.4%. Another underestimated it by almost 3%.
There is pretty significant variability based on speed, acceleration, how fast you accelerate, and also the distance that the driver is traveling. The bottom line is drivers really should not rely solely on this type of technology to determine when they need to fill up. When your gas tank gets to a quarter of a tank full, you need to go ahead and fill it up, because if you continually let that empty light come on, you're running it too close, and that could cause some very costly damage to your fuel pump.
To make your car more fuel efficient, Shoup suggests avoiding hard acceleration, keep the tires inflated to proper levels, and turn off the air conditioner when possible. That will draw less power from the engine and save on gas. Dina Demetrius, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Coming up, a conversation with activist, model, and television host Padma Lakshmi. We'll be right back. All right, we're back. She's the host of Top Chef Bravo's long-running cooking show, but there is so much more to her story. Take a look.
This is a beautiful time at the market because you have all of your beautiful summer vegetables and fruits.
There's so much color. Are those all tomatoes?
They're all tomatoes. Come here.
Here's a tip when visiting a farmer's market with Padma Lakshmi.
What would you use that for?
I wouldn't use these.
Okay.
Follow her lead.
I love these guys. I love frying them.
And learn along the way.
These are my taki. These are great. I would just drizzle these with a lot of olive oil.
When Lakshmi talks food, take note.
I will look at what's here and I will make up a recipe based on, what I find.
After all, she's the host, judge, and an executive producer of the hit Bravo show Top Chef.
Lisa,
Please pack your knives and go.
And she highlights immigrant culture and cuisine in Hulu's Taste the Nation.
This is my first rodent. What does it taste like to you? Tastes like chicken.
She's also an author, activist, and UN Goodwill Ambassador. You could say Lakshmi has a lot on her plate.
I feel like I'm just finally hitting my stride, and of course it takes a while to fully cook as a person and to figure out who you are.
And to know who Padma Lakshmi is, it's important to know where she came from and how much she's overcome.
In my life, I've had a lot of happen,
If people don't know your story, they might look at you and think you lead a charmed life.
I hope I do now. I would like to.
Before bestseller lists, Emmy nominations, and magazine covers spiced up her life, Lakshmi's roots were humble.
You didn't grow up with a lot of privilege.
No, I didn't. I was born in India, and my mother divorced my father when I was 2. She came to America, and I came here, I joined her when I was 4. I came here on Halloween night. And I thought, America, this beautiful land of plenty where all you have to do is dress up in a funny costume and they give you candy. Not even like money, candy.
After her arrival in America, Lakshmi found joy and wonder in the melting pot of New York City. It would not last. At 7 years old, her life was forever changed.
It happened with a relative of my mother's second husband, and I was sexually molested, and I was sent back to India for 1.5 years. I will say in my mother's defense, she did the best she could to get me out of there as soon as possible, and that was the quickest way to do that. In retrospect, I'm sure she would not make that decision.
Lakshmi returned to America and attended high school in Los Angeles. She also had a part-time job at a mall.
And you met a young man there.
Yes.
And what happened?
We were dating, and, one night I was only allowed to stay out so late because it was New Year's, and I was 16, and, I was sexually assaulted. He raped me.
Lakshmi kept this secret for more than 30 years, until she penned an op-ed for the New York Times in 2018.
When somebody robs you of your innocence, whether it's at 7 or 16 or whatever, when you don't have dominion over your own body, it leaves you with a lifelong anxiety that always lingers in some form. And that, to me, is the greatest crime of sexual assault.
There would be more trauma for the then teenage Lakshmi when she was seriously injured in a car accident.
I fractured my hip and I broke my arm, my right arm, and my metacarpal here.
You have a scar.
I do. I have a big scar.
Surprisingly, that 7-inch wound would help launch her modeling career.
I hated it, but then I was, shot by a very great photographer named Helmut Newton, and he liked the scar. I think that your flaws and your scars really make you who you are.
Photo shoots led to acting roles.
Are there any provisions? I'm hungry.
But it was her culinary passion that really put her on the map when she joined Top Chef.
What did you think?
Thought it was a little sweet.
A little?
The show just wrapped its 18th season.
Eric, I loved your concept. I had the biggest problem with your food.
What makes it so successful?
It's very compelling to see someone strive to be the best at what they do for a living, no matter what it is. And so you don't have to be professional to have really deep, fully formed opinions about food.
Lakshmi's made a name for herself professionally, but her personal life has also made headlines. In 2004, she married one of the most famous authors in the world, Salman Rushdie. They divorced 3 years later. In her memoir, she said Rushdie called her a, quote, bad investment.
I wish him well. I care about him, and I really don't want to say anything more about him.
What she will talk about is a painful condition she and millions of women suffer from, endometriosis, a disease where tissue grows outside the uterus and can lead to infertility.
Because of my experience with endometriosis, once I got the care that I needed, then I started tasting life for a normal woman who doesn't suffer with chronic pain.
She's co-founder of the Endometriosis Foundation of America. When not championing a cause or working, she's with her daughter, Krishna. The single mother co-parents her 11-year-old with Krishna's father, Adam Dell.
I always knew I wanted to be a mom. I didn't know I would have this much fun. I'm very lucky.
Given the endometriosis, was it fair to say that Krishna is a miracle?
Definitely. I call her a miracle. I mean, literally, I don't know how it happened. I have like some tinfoil and rabbit ears holding it all together in here. I'm not even kidding.
That miracle and that mother-daughter bond helped inspire her new children's book, Tomatoes for Neela.
Krishna grew up in this farmer's market. You know, Tomatoes for Neela takes place here.
The book comes out this week, just in time for Lakshmi's 51st birthday.
Have you ever had a Coca-Cola cake?
No.
I surprised her with a cake I made. No pressure.
I'm kind of nervous.
It's sweet and creamy and has a lot of give.
A sweet review from Padma Lakshmi, a woman who's turned pain into power and strives to empower others.
I am an open book. I have lived the life I've lived because there's nothing that I have to hide. And I would like young women to know that even if you have a late start or even if you've been through stuff, it's okay. You know, sometimes you just have to get up and dust yourself off and keep walking.
And we'll be right back to wrap things up. Stay with us. All right, be sure you stay connected with us. We love to hear from you. We'll see you back here next time.